alive! It's alive! It's alive!
I want to play a game.
Hello and welcome to the Sounds from the Grave podcast, a podcast where we talk all things horror and horror related. My name is Yussef.
My name is Vania.
And one by one, we will take you.
You know, with the passion in that voice, you can already tell that this is like his favorite thing to talk about. So, hi guys, welcome to spooky season. This is the first podcast within the month of October. Yay! So, it's a lot of things is going on, such as like horror nights, a lot of haunts opening up, such as Sir Henry's,
Scream and Stream.
Petrified Forest, Scream and Stream, and all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of things going on. So our schedules might get a little hectic.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to try and accomplish everything that's on the schedule that you guys saw already, which is that we're going to do all the Evil Dead series, starting with the first one, of course, the 1983 version. So, yeah, that was the quote from the 1983 version of Evil Dead.
Yes. Funny enough, there's actually two versions of the film. There's the 81 version and the 83 version.
Did I watch the wrong version?
No, they're actually both the same movie. So the 81 version only got released in Europe. It didn't get released in the US until 83. Because like it had to go through a bunch of censorships, and like people wanted to like not release the film in the US. So Sam Raimi was like, you know what? Fuck it, I'll release it anyway, and they just released it unrated. So that movie has, like, if you look it up, that movie has no rating.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, no wonder I almost got into an argument with my boyfriend earlier. I was like, he was like, it came out in 81. No, it's HBO Max says 83.
Yeah, well, it came out in the US in 83.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
Y'all know more than me because I had to rewatch. I have seen Evil Dead before, but it's one of those movies that I don't watch over and over and over again. But it was good to actually watch the original because I did watch the remake many, many years after.
Mm-hmm.
But we're not going to be talking about that until like the end of the month of October.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, so this is the first episode of our Evil Dead month. So we're going to be talking about all the entries in the franchise, film entries, because we're not going to talk about the TV show because I haven't seen it in like 2 or 3 years now, and we don't have the time to sit through a TV show right now.
Oh yeah, we're really busy right now. So right now, we have, of course, the schedule. We do have my boyfriend, who is also a really big Evil Dead fan, coming in next week, hopefully, to talk about Evil Dead 2. Army of Darkness is up for grabs, so if you guys do want to come on the podcast and talk about that, we are more than happy to have you for that segment. And then we have Kyle from Trick or Treaters podcast coming back for the ending of the month of October, which is the Evil Dead remake. So
correct. Yeah. As you probably noticed, we did take a week off just because we were just exhausted from Horror Nights. You were about to start your haunt season. So we were just like, you know what, let's like take a break for this week. Let's prep, so that way we have enough time to rest. You have enough time to prep up, and we're not focusing on anything, like too many things at once. But we are back. We're officially back again. So yeah.
Me still being sleepy, but hey. No, y'all, it's been a crazy opening weekend, but fishing through.
Yeah, you know how it is. But yeah, you guys know the format at this point, so we're going to talk a little bit about the plot of the film. We're going to stop at a certain point. We're going to give you our grave robbing facts, and once those are done, then we'll move on to the second half of the film.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, this malevolent force just kind of pulls on the steering wheel on the car, and it almost causes this accident with this truck until right at the last second where Scotty is able to pull the car to the side. And of course, he immediately tries to blame Ash. He's like, Ash, like, I thought you got, you had this car checked out. And Ash is like, yeah, I did. Like, they went top to bottom. Like, they made sure everything was good. This guy's like, well, you probably should have checked that again.
I like the part where he's like, "Oh yeah, checked everything. The only thing that's only good is this, like the
This
horn."
horn.
And I was like, "Damn,
And I
it'd
love the
be like
fact
that sometimes."
and he just honks the horn and then these like two random fishermen think it's at them and they just wave. And
Yeah.
all those guys like, it's not for you, idiots, and they just keeps driving.
Damn. And when I was watching this movie too, I'm like, damn, like it's in like in the beginning of the '80s. Like nobody learned from the hitchhiking from Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Did no one learn?
Yeah, no, but
Are
nobody.
we still?
At least nobody picked up a hitchhiker in this one, so they were at least smart enough to do that.
That's fair.
Yeah,
They were actually smart. They did something that Texas Chainsaw did not.
yeah.
We love that.
But yeah, right after this is where we get to see our first scene of kind of like the Sam Raimi type of humor, where you got the three people in the back. So you have Ash, his girlfriend Linda, and Ash's sister Cheryl. And Ash is looking at the map, and Cheryl's like, "Oh, I don't know about this place. Like, nobody's ever been there. We don't know what it looks like." And and I love the fact that Ash is like, "Oh, it might look pretty good," and his girlfriend's just like, "Yeah." It's like, or it could also be a dump, and she's like, it could also be a dump. Like she just repeats
Yeah.
everything he says, and I'm like, there's no point to that, but I don't know why it just made me laugh.
It was very cheesy humor, and the fact
Yeah.
that, and then the other girl's like, "Y'all are nobody has been here, and y'all are just going like, where's my Airbnb review for this shit?
Where's the
Like,
Yelp at?
where's Yelp at? Nowhere to be found." I love that. All I can think about is like, damn, this is Airbnb stories gone wrong. Like, I swear.
That's great. But yeah, so right after that is they start driving over this like really rickety bridge, and they actually almost get stuck because like part of the wheel breaks part of the bridge, and it almost gets stuck in there. And when I love this scene too, because Ash is like, "All right, let me open the door and see," and he just looks, and all he sees is just this flowing river, and he's like, "Fuck that! Close this door, ram it."
Yeah. It's funny because one of them was also like, "Oh, the bridge is completely solid." And I was like, "Oh,
Immediately.
I love
Yeah.
that."
I will say this:
Here
this
we are.
movie is not super funny. Like especially
Yeah,
when you compare it to the other, to like Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness. But it starts off with some interesting like comedy stuff.
yeah, I liked it. It was
Yeah.
like really cheesy
Oh yeah, it's like definitely my type of humor.
for sure. Clearly,
Yeah. But after crossing the bridge, they finally make it over to the creepy cabin, and I this part always creeped me out. It's like right when they get there, there's just like this random swing in front of the cabin, just like moving and just consistently hitting the side of the cabin. I don't know why. Just like because I can't imagine just like walking through those woods, no other sound except for that banging. You're like, what the fuck is that? No, I ain't going over there. And so they all get out of the car, and Scotty goes up to the front door and reaches for the key that is above the door frame, which is important later on. And as soon as he grabs the key, the chair swing stops, like just randomly. And I don't know, like why I was like moving in the first place. I don't know if it's just like the demons got bored or like, hey, fuck around with this thing for a little bit.
yeah, that was a little. I was like, why is that chair moving so much? I don't understand. But okay,
Yeah,
like the wind's pretty blowing pretty hard.
yeah. And so Scotty unlocks the door, opens the door, and walks in. And this is where we immediately get like the obviously outside of the opening of the film, we get some really cool cinematography. Like say what you will about Sam Raimi, his cinematography is always top notch. Like he is very good at shot composition and like making things look interesting. And you
Yeah,
see that in here immediately because as soon as he opens the door, you have like this really smoky look inside this dark cabin, and all you see is Scotty's silhouette against the lighting. And it's such a
yeah,
cool shot immediately because like it just like the behind the scenes stuff about it too, because all the smoke that you see is literally the movie's producer just smoking a cigarette next to the camera and just blowing
that's
it in front of the
hilarious.
camera.
That's funny.
And they're like, "Hey, that looks good. That looks like fog. Keep doing it. Keep smoking up."
Like keep getting like contribute to the cause, I guess. Damn, his lungs must have been.
Yeah,
But yes.
and actually, funny enough, I love the fact that you mentioned Texas Chainsaw because Scotty starts walking through the cabin, like exploring a little bit, and at one point he gets to this room where there's like stuff hanging from the walls, or from the ceiling, and a lot of it looks like bones. It could just be like chicken bones or something, but it's a pretty nice reference to TCM, and I always appreciate that.
Yeah.
But after that, funny enough, we also do get a really funny moment when Ash and all the other girls are like unpacking stuff from the truck, and they're like throwing stuff at him, and they're like, "Hey!" and he's like, "Hey!" and then they throw something at his stomach, and he hears, "Ooh!"
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's one of the things I like where they really play into how like the group dynamic of how like they've known each other for a while, they're pretty good friends, like they have like good like friendships together and that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
which makes everything that happens later like a lot more impactful.
Oh, for sure. It was kind of hot. Well, I'll mention it later. Wait,
When we get to
because I
that,
want to.
okay.
Because my thoughts are rewatching this movie because, like I said, I just if today felt like the first time I watched it, even though I watched it years ago. So yes.
So, nothing after they get to the cabin, not a lot happens except when night falls, and Cheryl, Ash's sister, is sitting in kind of like the living room area of the cabin, and she's just drawing this grandfather clock. When suddenly she starts hearing these random voices saying "Join us," and like
Yeah,
these
and
really
then she
like weird
starts
echoey
having
stuff.
like a crazy. She flips the page, has a crazy frenzy, starts drawing a square, but it looks like more like a box, kind of like it's
Yeah, like
instead
because
of drawing like a book.
kind of like a 3D image. Yeah.
So like she just kept doing it and ripping through the pages as if you were like really angry. Like she literally had to have cast her anger at that page because of how hard she was hitting it. But yes, until eventually like she realized she kept looking at it and just blanked out to let you know.
But then what's really creepy too is as soon as she finishes drawing, the trap door in front of I don't know. Okay, here's my first question: why is there just a trap door in front of this the living room of all places? But anyway, I digress. We'll get to that later. It starts kind of moving on its own, and obviously Cheryl is like, "The fuck is that? Hell no!"
Yeah.
And of course, they try to she tries to tell him about everything, and Scotty, not gonna lie, Scotty's he's like an asshole throughout this entire movie. Cause he's like, oh, Cheryl's like talking about how that kind of freaked her out. And he's like, oh, that's just nothing. You're just being weird, and he's just being an asshole about it. Um, but a little bit later on, the entire group is enjoying dinner, and some weird shit happens where Ash can't remember some weird toast that he was trying to do, and I don't know
Yeah.
why that's not why I don't know why that's in there.
What?
Just no, I like just why is that scene in there? Like him struggling to get through this toast. But anyway,
I know. It was interesting choice of
at the same time, I feel like shit. This movie needs to be at least 90 minutes. Just start doing some shit at this point, just to pad the
yeah,
runtime a little bit. And even then, this movie's not even 90 minutes long. It's like 80 minutes long. It's a short
yeah,
movie.
for sure. But towards the end, it felt kind of long, for sure.
It does, yeah. The ending kind of drags a little bit just because like it really takes its time, like doing a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, there's some things about the ending that I was like,
This ending is ridiculous. But anyway, while they're enjoying the dinner, the door to the cellar just randomly bursts open.
did not question it, and they were like, "Oh, what's that?"
Yeah,
They
they're
all
like,
freaking go
huh?
over there. I was like, "What do you want?" It's like, "Oh, but that could be an animal or something," and I was
And
like,
fucking Scotty, he's like,
and I was
an
like,
animal. Ha 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 ha.
I was like,
I'm just like, shut up,
it's just
Scott.
the way that the girls at least have some common sense. Ash has some common sense. Scotty was like, "Nah, bitch, I'm gonna go in there." I'm like, or no, he tries to I think bribe Shelly or no, or Cheryl
Cheryl, yeah.
into going into the cellar. And then she's like, "No, I'm not gonna go in there." Then he goes. He's out for a while. They're staring into this hole for like a minute, a good solid minute, and then they're like, Ash is like, oh shit, let me go grab him. Goes down the cellar, looks around, just kind of minding his own business, trying to find his friend. He's like, Scotty! Then, of course, Scotty is the asshole and scares him, and then they start, looking through stuff in the basement.
This movie really does like a bunch of the stuff that we see in modern horror, like the whole abandoned cabin in the woods, the whole thing of like, hey, the cellar's open, let's go check it out for no reason. The fake jump scare with the friend, like there's a bunch of stuff that shows up now still.
Still a classic to this day.
Yeah.
The thing is, like, back in the 80s, like, wouldn't you think that shit's moving on its own? Oh, creepy cellar. Wow. Should we even be in here? Walk out the door. That's where the movie ends. Moral of the story: don't check out creepy places. But no, the element of disbelief in film really does pull on those strings. Like, hey, do stupid shit. Like in Scream, I was like, when girls look going out the back door when she should be going out the front door, it's insulting. And then
which is funny because it kind of reminds me of the whole cabin in the woods thing, where like it was actually all controlled, where they're like, like throwing pheromones into the cabin to like make them do the stupid decisions.
Yeah,
which I thought was cool.
It was all the pheromones.
Yeah,
it was all the pheromones' fault. But either way, they find some cool stuff in the basement. They find the recording of that one.
Yeah, they find like the tape recorder.
The tape recorder, and then find some other thing, and a shotgun, and a little voodoo looking skull looking knife.
Oh yeah, the knife, the dagger.
The dagger.
And then probably the most important thing, the Book of the Dead.
Yeah. Which I forgot what it Necronomicon?
Yeah, the Necronomicon, yeah.
Necronomicon.
Necronomicon.
The Necronomicon. Anyway.
I will say this though, before we get to the next part, I really got to talk about the cinematography in this film. Because, like, that scene where they're, like, calling for Scotty before Ash goes into the cellar is such an interesting shot. Because it's just literally, like, here's the from the inside of the cellar looking up at just these guys, like, kneeling down over the cellar opening and just yelling for him. And, like, it's like, that's a really interesting shot instead of just, just showing these people kneeling over a hole.
Mm-hmm.
And then you also have the scene of when Ash goes down the stairs to the cellar. And they do this, like, really nice, like, sweeping, like, 360 shot that starts with Ash, goes around the entire cellar so you see what he sees, and then it ends on Ash again.
Yeah.
Which it's just perfect cinematography to me. But anyway, moving on. Sorry, I had to nerd out. I'm always a big fan of the technical side of these, like, low-budget horror films, because a lot of the times, they don't have equipment, so they have to, like, find a ways to be creative and do what they want to do. And just, like, the fact that they're able to do these things is impressive to me.
Even if it's painful.
Oh, yeah. And this movie, we'll talk about that during the Grave Robbing Fest, because this movie was painful for a lot of people and painful to make.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so when they're in the cellar and they grab all this stuff, I like the little nod to The Hills Have Eyes. The little poster for the Wes Craven film. And stupid fucking asshole Scotty is like, do you think the shotgun still works? And then he starts pointing the shotgun at Ash's face.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, Scotty, stop. Don't be an asshole. Like, dude. Calm your tits.
He's an asshole of the week, man. He just is the very, like, personification of a guy that just wants to take people to scary places just to be a dick.
Yep,
kind of thing.
That is him pretty much. But yeah, they're like, okay, let's grab all the stuff. We'll go back upstairs, and that is immediately followed by probably the worst lightning I have ever seen in any movie.
Yo, I said the same shit. I said the same shit. I was like,
it's so bad. It's so bad that Sam Raimi was like, I really shouldn't have even put that lightning in there because it looks like garbage. And I'm like, yeah, you
How
really
fearful,
shouldn't
my
have, because it
guy.
looks so bad.
Yeah, I realized that when I was watching it. I think I was concentrated more on the technical side of how
Mhm.
this movie was shot rather than the actual storyline. I'm like, what did you do? Why would you do that? What?
Especially because, like, there's lightning effects going back to the Universal monster movies that look incredible, and I'm like, why can't you just use like a stock footage lightning strike instead of
Mhm.
doing whatever the fuck that was?
Now that I
Oh
think about
man.
it, technically, if there's a movie that's over 100, and of course it goes into public domain, would that technically make it become stock footage that you're allowed to use it? Unless
Well,
the company actually reuses it as or like renovates, like basically
like will they like renew the contract for it, or like the
renew
rights?
the contract for the rights.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So yeah, in other words, like something like the Universal monster movies, I think they're just at this point just purely owned by Universal.
yeah,
So pretty much Universal can just do whatever they want with them, and like if they want to be like, hey, do you want to buy? Like if you want to borrow this, you have to ask for permission, or you have to pay us to do it. So
yeah,
technically, they can kind of people can use it as stock footage because they do it all the time. So,
yeah.
um, but yeah, anyway, after the shitty lightning effect, they all sit around the tape recorder, and they're like, let's play it. Let's see what this sounds like. So we hear, the voice of this professor talking about all the artifacts that they found downstairs, like the book and the dagger. And that's when he talks about the Necronomicon, the Book of the Dead, which is also in like its native or Latin language is called the Naturo Demontum, which I've always liked that name for it.
Yeah.
And that it is and he explains that this book is bound in human flesh, so it's made of pretty much skin. So Ed Gein would be this would be Ed Gein's book, and
Nice,
it's also written in human blood.
nice.
So that is immediately like really creepy to me.
I wish
And
it was a little bit more believable in the shot.
it looks better in the second movie, honestly.
Yeah,
When they added like the little face to it, it looks better.
yeah.
Um,
No, I mean like the it being written in.
in
Because
blood,
like
yeah, I guess it just looks like red
if you
ink.
look at the
Yeah,
pages, like it was like that's clearly a pen.
yeah, like it's just red ink, like really nicely drawn
I
red
had to
ink.
go. I had to like go back, and I'm like, is it
Yeah,
red? No, like no, like what?
yeah. I think it would have been better if they kind of put it like a little bit more like kind of a drip effect to it. I think
Yeah,
that would have made
or
it
have
look more
like
like
or
blood.
use like a fine red thing, draw what they needed to do, and then after that, just fucking smear that shit.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I would have done.
Yeah. But yeah, the professor also explains that the book itself is about summoning demons and like resurrecting demons. And
Yeah,
obviously, that's creepy as fuck. And Cheryl's like, yo, can we like fucking not do this? Like,
yeah. But once you summon them, they can't even be put
yeah,
back
like
on
she's like, I don't want to hear
you.
this anymore. Like, this is really freaking me out. And
Kind of tripping out.
here comes our asshole boy Scotty.
Hmm.
He's like, don't worry about it. Clicks it back on. And because of that, we get to hear the professor chant what is written in the book. And that, of course, wakes up our demons.
Which is weird because the reason why I say that is because this movie, I feel like the person with the book present should be the one summoning the demons, not an audio.
Mm.
Now I was like, this is really off to me. Like how are you gonna make a thing that's not even close to the? I don't even think I even saw the book close to the recorder during this.
No, I think Ash was just like kind of thumbing through it, just kind of looking through it.
Yeah, but it's weird that someone that's in a recording, like, is saying rather than someone not attempting to read it, but like
Yeah.
that kind of thing. I was like, wait, why isn't an audio summoning? Like,
Mm-hmm.
could be like one of them could be really smart in the Sumerian language, but
Yeah.
like
Yeah, that would have
that
been
didn't make
interesting. Where
sense
like
to
one of
me.
them,
I was
yeah, where
like,
like one of them might have been like an archaeology student or something like that. But
yeah,
yeah, honestly, it doesn't
I
really
would
bother
have
me.
it
I
be
I
that.
liked I like the fact that it's pretty much something that they didn't. That technically, it wasn't really something that they did. other than
Mm-hmm.
playing the tape.
Mm-hmm. It does
Um,
have a unique spin on it.
yeah. So yeah, that actually, the hearing the chant starts to wake up the demons, which I don't think it wakes them up. I think it just like gives them the power to be able to do more, to be able to possess people and that kind of stuff. Because
Yeah.
we already heard it, saying join us, like messing with Cheryl, kind of. So like I think what it does is just like it kind of breaks the seal open so they can do more.
Yeah.
Um, but at this point, Cheryl's like, "Yo, fucking fuck this shit. Stop with the bullshit, Scotty." And just like yells, and as soon as she does that, a giant ass tree just breaks a window.
Yeah. But for me, my stupid ass, like I said, I was like really observing the technical side of this freaking film. My stupid ass was like, how the fuck did this? After her screaming, a tree comes down. Not then Ash, I think, is the one that naturally pulls the tree off, slams the thing, and I'm like, yo, what is that? And I was like, yo, those were a thing back then. Those
Like kind of
little
like shutters. Yeah, they were kind of like shutters.
shutters. Like,
Yeah.
yo, what the fuck is? I never knew that. I was like, yo, I want that in my room.
Like little
I went
shutters.
immediately to, yo, I want that in my room. Yeah, but the shutters are really cool looking. But other than that, yes. So Cheryl screams, and then Ash and his girlfriend stay up. They have cutesy time, kind
Yeah.
of thing. Ash pretends to be asleep. He has a jewelry box in his hand, and then him and Linda, I think that's her name.
Yeah, Linda.
Linda, they exchange looks for a bit. Until she finally catches it. Oh, you ain't asleep, you fucking frontin', you little bitch.
You fucking
Anyway,
frontin'. Which, by the way,
wow.
I also like how that scene was shot too, especially because we do see something similar later on, but we'll
Yeah.
get to that as well later.
So
Um,
after that, it's like they're back and forth, and then finally he gives her the jewelry box, and it's kind of like a magnifying slash mirror looking necklace.
yeah,
And she's like, "Oh, Ash, I love it. Put it on me." Then he puts it on her, and I was like, "It is cute. I like this. It is so fun." And then after that entire scene, I do really much enjoy photography that happens right after, because it feels like they have like three different sets of windows that you
hmm
see them in each and every room. So you first see Ash and Linda hugging, and it just kind of like with their intimacy, not intimacy, but that kind of
just
thing.
like
I
the
think
little
it's
cute
that.
moment. Yeah,
Yeah, and then you see Shelly and Scotty just vibing, and then just obviously you see tits. I mean, it's a horror film. What do you fucking expect? Um, then we move over because it's kind of like zoom in, pull out. Then it's like zoom in, pull out.
yeah.
Then it goes finally to Cheryl, and it goes back to her, I think.
hmm
And then after that, that's when, of course, fucking voices start bugging her again. She going batshit crazy. Not really. It's just the demons
Yeah,
saying, "Join us, join us, join us." Then it like very rapidly cuts to her going outside, and the first thing I notice, I'm like, it is so fucking pitch black. I was
hmm
like, in the back, I'm like, yo, y'all good? Like,
yeah. Well, it's
y'all,
like straight up though, it does help because it makes the movie like it makes the woods really scary because you're like you cannot see anything past a certain point like at all.
no, you can't see past two trees. Two,
And that
two trees.
immediately like gives you that sense of isolation, that sense of danger, because you're like you do not know what is at the edge of that darkness.
That's rare.
Yeah.
Right. So either way, the dumbass. I don't know why she feels the need to go outside. She's like,
I
I'm
don't
gonna go
know.
into the thick of it, into the thick of
Ugh.
it. Literally, ugh. Into the bush. I don't even know we push. Okay, I'm done. But either way, she goes off in a little adventure, and then
We get to
I want to. I hold on. Yeah, I want to fucking say this part because this shit freaked me the fuck out. I was like, I watched too much hentai to know where this is.
Jesus
I know.
Christ.
No, not too much hentai. Of course, we already know the stereotype. Y'all don't at me. Um,
Don't at me.
but- so of course, we get super uncomfortable where we see the wood scene where
Yep.
we have trees sexually assault her, and it is very uncomfortable to watch. I'm like, well, I was like, they have been taking notes from the anime companies, man. They've been taking some notes. Like, that's all I gotta say. But that shit looked super painful, especially to shoot.
Yeah.
So Cheryl finally is able to be free. She's naked. She runs back to the cabin because you shouldn't have left in the first place, dumbass.
Mhm.
But love that. But it's in a really intense scene where she comes in. She is crying and she's begging Ash to take her back into town because she doesn't want to be there, that kind of thing. And then Ash um, is a good guy, but he only does it because he knows what to do, not because he actually wants to do it.
Yeah.
So Ash finally determines to take Cheryl back into the city to have her rest there. So then he comes back. They hop in the car, they drive for a bit, and then this moment was super awkward to me where Ash gets out the car,
Mhm.
doesn't say shit,
Mhm. And just walks away.
walks away, and I'm like, you're even gonna tell her what you
Yeah.
saw?
Not only that, you get like the really trippy shot too, where he's kind of like walking sideways.
Yeah, I feel like there had to be some bullshit. I was looking, I was like, that's
I
a
know
very
it. No, and
interesting shot.
it's very. You know how they did that? So what they did is they actually parked the car on a hill, and then what they did was they looked at how they put the camera there, and they saw how the car was kind of tilted. So they were like, "Let's do this. Let's tilt the camera so it looks like the car is on flat ground." So
Yeah.
that way, when when Bruce Campbell is walking, he's walking on flat land. So like the rise is different. So that way he looks like he's all like diagonal, and that just makes it look so weird.
Just to like enhance the
Yeah.
unsettledness of everything. Which I thought was a really cool shot. But Cheryl gets out the car yet again. I don't know why she has the need to escape things. And then of course she goes, finds the broken bridge looking thing,
Yeah, like it's
all
all
destroyed.
destroyed.
All destroyed, and then finally comes across Ash and basically says, "Oh shit! Like we've been blocked. This was the only way home.
Yeah, they're not gonna
Like
let
we
us
know
leave.
what's the only way home." But it's not like there's many bridges. I feel like if you're gonna be in this forest area, you can at least build a couple of bridges. Why rely on one?
Yeah.
But we will love that. So they get then it cuts back to them in the cabin, and this tripped me up, and I'm like, yo, they went back to the cabin.
I
What?
mean, we're like, where else were they supposed to go? So
Yeah, but I was like, I would assume that they would show them the shot of getting back into the car, saying, "Hey, let's go back
Mm.
to the cabin," that kind of thing. No, it was like that. I was like, okay, hi. Like it tripped me up. A lot of the editing in this tripped me up a bit. I was like, yo, like this is so unconventional. I like it, but I don't understand. um so
So yeah, so that's when they're listening to more of the professor's recording, and that's when they find out that the doctor's wife had been possessed by the demons, and that the only way that she could be killed was by bodily dismemberment. So you gotta hack her apart, literally like cut her into pieces.
love that.
And yeah, and then I love this next scene too, because you see like Linda and Shelly are playing this card game where Shelly's holding up a card and Liz trying to guess what it is. And I
Yeah.
love the fact that she guesses wrong every single time. But Shelly's like, you got it. Oh my god, you have like ESP or whatever. But she guesses it wrong
Yeah.
every single time.
I was like, yo, is she really getting it right? And then I looked at the cards and I'm like,
It reminded me of that scene from Ghostbusters, like when they have the two students hooked up to the machine, and like she guesses them all wrong, but Bill Murray's like, "Oh, look at you, you got it right," and then the guy guesses
yeah.
them right. He's like, "Oh, you got that one wrong."
Yeah, but that was it was a very interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah, you got it right. Seven of all something,
yeah,
almost all the time, and I'm like, girl, stop. Like,
yeah. But then it starts to take a turn because then first of all, we have Cheryl staring out the window like while this is
yeah,
happening. But then, like, as they're pulling out more cards, Cheryl starts to guess without even looking at the cards. Like, she's like, oh, Queen of Hearts, Seven of Clubs, Eight of Spades, like, just out of nowhere. And then when she turns
yeah,
around, you can tell that she's been possessed. Like, her skin is all pale, her eyes are white,
shit,
and she starts to kind of lie, like, kind of fly into the air in this, like, weird demonic voice and tells the group that, that it essentially talking, the demon's talking through Cheryl saying, "Oh, you've disturbed our slumber, and you got to pay for that. We are gonna take you one by one."
yeah,
And you're like, "Oh fuck, it's about to go fucking down."
yeah. I was like, oh, you fucked up. You fucking fucked
Yeah,
up.
I
So
love and I love the voicing on that too, like because it sounds like 18,000 different voices all at once coming through
yeah,
out of Cheryl, which I really liked.
but it's like super impressive because you really do. She doesn't look like herself. She sounds completely different. The
Yeah,
makeup is actually well. I feel like I was like, this is a really low budget, but I know where the budget went to.
yeah. What little budget it had, because not if I remember correctly, this movie was shot on only for like $300,000. Like that, the
How much?
budget they had was $300,000. Like that was the budget,
Mm,
and that is nothing.
shit.
Yeah.
Aren't they glad that there's a whole franchise now?
Oh yeah. And there's more because it's another movie on its way.
Yep. That's very great.
Yeah. So now that we've ended on a cliffhanger here, I believe it is now time to do our grave robbing facts.
So, hey everybody, it is time for our Great Rock Facts, which is a segment that we started not too long ago, basically giving you random facts about the movie that we are talking about, or television show, or event. So, we are going to be starting off with the Evil Dead series that we are hosting this Halloween. So, this is Evil Dead 1983, and this is the Great Robbing Facts for it. Fact number one is that Bruce Campbell put his family's property in northern Michigan as collateral so that Sam Raimi could not only finish the film but also blow it up to 35 millimeter film, which was required for the theatrical release. Raimi was so grateful that he credited Campbell as co-producer. So
Yeah.
that was really nice.
Oh yeah. I mean, granted, they had been friends since like high school. They used to make like little short films together. So like they were like really good friends. And he's like, you know what, bro, I got you.
That's good.
Yeah.
The co-producer is really nice. So
Yeah.
good for them. And then now they are probably like making that bank off of this movie, I swear.
Yeah. But
So,
our next fact, so the movie was actually filmed in a real life abandoned cabin that they just found in Tennessee. And unfortunately the cabin has already been found. It's been vandalized beyond, repair. And by vandalized, I literally mean that when they finished filming, Sam Raimi was like, let's do a bonfire, and the cabin caught on fire, and he's like, fuck it, burn that shit down.
oh, that's funny.
Yeah. But what's really cool too is actually they made like a little time capsule, and they put it inside the fireplace, like of the cabin. And what's really interesting is when the cabin burnt down, the only thing that was still standing, and it's still standing, is the fireplace.
Oh,
So I don't know when they're gonna plan on like digging that up. I'm feeling they should do it now since the movie's about to celebrate its 40th anniversary. You'd think by now they would
Yeah.
actually try to do something with it.
Yeah, especially with like wood tends to like break a lot more, so the more
Hmm.
they wait, the more difficult it becomes for them to actually lift it from that segment.
Yeah. But yeah,
But
anyway, what is our next grave robbing fact, Vanya?
fact number 3 is that the temperatures were so cold at the time that during shooting, the camera and other wiring froze. They had to then be thawed by the fireplace inside of the cabin. So that's super
Yep.
unfortunate
Yeah.
because that is a nightmare.
Oh yeah.
Honestly,
Can you
I
imagine you're like recording, you're like shooting a scene and just in the middle of it, it just freezes. Like it doesn't like the video doesn't freeze. The whole camera itself just freezes on you.
yeah,
That's
I would not.
ridiculous.
But not only that, it is just like it being able to just get water in that wiring just by trying to thaw it, and the constant like sucking and blowing from all of that is like gonna have to mess up the wire so
Yeah,
bad.
oh yeah, definitely. Like I'm surprised they didn't have like an electrical fire or something like that, or like that they were actually able to finish anything with the film.
Yeah. But
Um,
what is our next one?
yeah. So fact number 4: the wide contact lenses that were used for the possession scenes were actually very painful. They covered about half the eye and had to be taken out every 15 minutes for the eyes to be able to breathe. Because the contact lenses were actually as thick as glass.
Oof.
So like essentially, it was like Bruce Campbell in an interview later on. He said, "Yeah, it was pretty much like putting Tupperware on your eyes." And I'm like, God damn, like shit, because literally when they had to take them out, it's because the eyes were dehydrated. Like otherwise, her eyes would just die or something.
Oh
They
shit.
could go blind with it.
That's a liability. Like, did they not think this through, or it was
Well,
for contacts during that time?
it was because of the budget.
Oh,
Like that's
fair.
literally the only like type of contact lens they could afford.
Shit. That really sucks.
Yeah.
But our fact number 5, the waving fisherman at the beginning of the by director Sam Raimi and Rob Taper.
Yeah,
Taper.
taper. Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, I was
So
actually
that's
the
really
director and
cool.
producer. Yeah.
Sleepy.
They're like, "Hi, we made this.
Hi. Well, we just wanted to let you know
We're
you're in the
existing."
film. Yeah, that's cute.
Yeah. So our next fact. So Bruce Campbell actually twisted his ankle on a route while running down a steep hill while filming, and I don't know why Sam Raimi and Rob Taper decided to tease him about it by poking his injury with a stick.
Oof.
And in a bunch of the scenes, you can see Bruce Campbell just walks around with a limp,
Oh,
literally
that's
because
smart.
he had twisted his ankle, and they were like, "Hey, fucking poke it with a stick."
Oh man. I hope they were really good friends because I would have been like, bitch. Anyway, fact number 7 is that most of the demon POVs that glide across the ground were shot by mounting cameras to a 2x4 while Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell ran along holding either side.
That is true. So I love the fact that it was just like, hey, we don't have like a fancy like steady cam or a dolly. Just fucking use a piece of wood.
Nice.
Which at the same time, I liked going into like the behind the scenes of the cinematography because I'm like, I'm so glad that it's something that like as for both of us as like low to no budget filmmakers, that's such an interesting trick to do because we
Yeah.
don't have we don't have the money for that type of equipment. So
And
yeah,
even then, they also got a theatrical release too.
yo,
So
oh yeah.
very cool.
Um, yeah, but our next fact is really, really cool. So the film was actually shown to Stephen King, and it was his glowing endorsement of the film which really sold it to the public. The film was bought by New Line Cinema soon after.
Nice. Which basically they were the ones that also have ownership of Nightmare on Elm Street, right?
Yep, that is why they call it
And
the house
Friday
that
the
Freddy built.
13th.
Afterwards, before that, it used to be Paramount, but
Yeah.
for a while, all they had was Nightmare on Elm Street, and that was literally their claim to fame because they actually called New Line Cinema the house that Freddy built.
Nice.
Because
That's cool.
without Freddy, you had no New Line Cinema.
Yes. But fact number 9. One of the sketches in the Book of the Dead comes from William Blake's painting, The Great Red Dragon and Clothed with the Sun.
Yeah, which is funny enough is actually the same painting that inspires the Red Dragon killer in Hannibal. And like in the movie
Oh,
Red Dragon, it's actually this guy that's like obsessed with that painting. So I thought
very nice.
that was a very cool little Easter egg or like coincidence in there.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Very cool.
But on our last fact here, which I think is really interesting and really funny, just to give you an idea of just how shitty this production was. On the very first day of shooting, during one of the scenes shot on the bridge, when they were trying to go back to the cabin, the crew actually got lost in the woods.
That's hilarious.
Like you can tell immediately on the first day, this is not gonna be good because like they already got lost in the woods.
Mm. Yep.
Yep.
They really made it into the thick of it. Into the thick of it. Anyway.
Ugh.
But that is all of our grave robbing facts of Evil Dead. So yeah, it was kind of a train wreck, but hey, it is still a masterpiece to a lot of the horror fans out there that are really in love with this film.
Yeah.
So now back to our feature presentation of the podcast.
We are back, and like I said earlier, Cheryl had been possessed. She had her whole speech where she tells the rest of the gang that they are going to be, taken out one by one. Like the demons, pretty much the demons are not playing around. Like we're gonna fuck you up.
Yeah.
But right after that, Cheryl then passes out and actually pretends to pass out. So when Linda goes to check on her, she grabs a pencil and straight up stabs her in the ankle. And it was probably like, that is like the first big like gore shot.
Yeah.
And like, it is like nasty and gnarly because like she digs that pencil in there, it's like twisting it around. There's like blood all over the ankle. You're like, ew, stop.
Yeah, she is going up and down with that shit. I was like, madam, can I help you? Like that hurt. Looks like it hurts a lot. And she kind of bleeding. You can stop now.
Yeah. Like, don't do that, please. It's enough. But then right after that, once they're able to pull Linda away, she gets up and she begins to go after Ash. But then Scotty hits her and pushes her down to the cellar, and then they lock the cellar door down with chains.
Damn, aren't we glad that he's a wife beater? No, I'm kidding.
Jesus Christ.
He's kind of like one, to be fair.
A little bit,
Like,
yeah.
a little bit, like, because he's just like all like very considerate of her feelings, and then he's like, oh, that thing's inanimate, like she crazy, great, I have an excuse to hit a bitch. Like, like, God, he's such a scumbag. I do feel bad for him later on, but it's like, damn, what a fucking scumbag.
Yeah. So after all that commotion, they send Linda out to rest after getting stabbed in the ankle, and then the rest of the group starts to think about having to leave and trying to figure out, like, should we leave Cheryl here and go get help? Or, like, do we take her with us? Like, just trying to figure out what
Scotty said, I'm leaving. I don't give a
Yeah,
fuck
Scotty
about
was
you
like,
and your
fuck
bitch.
all this shit. I'm
Like,
out.
yeah, so he was planning on leaving. Then Ash is like, please, no, like, they're friends. And then Scotty's like, nah, fam, I'm out. Freaking, I think Scotty already goes out. He's stuck with possessed ass fucking Cheryl and Sleepy Linda. Yeah.
Well, no, not yet. They had no. He hasn't left just yet. So that's when Shelly's like, all right, I'm gonna go to bed then. But the demons are like, hell no, you ain't, and they go ahead and possess Shelly.
Oh God.
So then she comes back and actually she attacks Scotty in the bathroom. And after that, like the fight kind of proceeds over into the living area again. And at one point during the tussle or the scuffle, Shelly is pushed into a fire into the fireplace, and she just catches on fire. But But then, like, she starts screaming like crazy, and Scotty, this is one of his little redeeming qualities. He feels kind of bad, so he's like, all right, let me help her and pull her out of the fire.
Mm-hmm.
But she's like, bitch, got it. Got him. So then she attacks him again and tries to stab him with the dagger, with like the ceremonial like skull dagger.
Yeah.
But then Scotty is able to pull out his little pocket knife and actually cuts off Shelly's hand like almost completely off. Like to the point where it's literally like hanging by a thread.
It was like the cleanest cut. I'm like, I know it's gonna take you long to cut an arm
Nah,
off,
he's
but
like,
okay.
done. But then, like when she like pushes him back, she's like, boy, you didn't do it right. I gotta finish the job. So she just grabs the dagger and just like cuts the rest of her hand off.
Oof.
She's like, got it.
Sure. She's like, I did it. I did what you couldn't.
Yeah. But, as soon as the dagger drops, Scotty grabs it and uses it to stab Shelly in the back, which finally brings her down after she starts like spitting up milk, that's literally what it is. It's milk. It's 2% milk. And then she pretends to die. Like she does like this ridiculous like spitting, milk everywhere, and then like does all these crazy sounds, and then pretends to die.
Jesus.
And they're like, okay, we fucking did it. But then again, she's not dead. She gets up again and attacks Scotty. But this time Scotty grabs a nearby axe and just starts to straight up go to town, just dismembering Shelly. Like straight up, just like going to town, just like hacking and slashing away.
Oh yeah, like she is literally garbage. And I love how he's like so casual about it after the whole hashing and slacking, like the slashing is done. He says, "Yeah, let's bury her." I'm like, "Have you done this before, sir? Hello." Like,
Hello?
you don't just think like you don't think, oh shit, I just killed my girlfriend, that kind of thing, or his friend. Shelly kind of acted like a girlfriend. So I don't know.
I think she was his girlfriend.
Yeah, so I was like, you're not crying that you have to kill your own girlfriend. Now
I was like, nah,
I'm gonna
I'm
bury
good.
this bitch.
Let's get out of here.
This guy here.
Yeah.
But yeah, what was it?
So like they're like, all right, let's bury her. And then Scotty goes immediately back to his asshole mode. He's like, all right, I'm gonna leave without you and Linda. Like, he literally says like, I don't care about you guys. I'm gonna go find a way out of here. Like, fuck you guys.
I wouldn't blame him.
Yeah.
I would have done the same thing.
But then after all that, that's when Scotty leaves and he's like, all right, I'm gonna find my own way. And Ash is like, all right, then I'm gonna go check on Linda, make sure my baby's doing fine. But that's when we find out that Linda has indeed been possessed.
And she has been my favorite so far, though.
Yeah, Linda was pretty cool.
So, yeah, she starts laughing maniacally. It's just something I very much
We're gonna get you.
Yeah.
We're gonna get you.
And I really like her acting in this one. I was like, yo, this is great. Fucking go ham.
Yeah, like because like Linda was cool, like as an actress and everything, but like possessed Linda's on a whole other level.
She's a spirit animal, honestly. So, yeah, Scott kind of goes about his fucking way, and then the dumbass comes back running.
Straight out beat to shit.
Yeah, it looked like he's been through some shit, and I'm like, oh, so it looks like somebody finally got him to bend over so he can actually understand what's happening.
Jesus.
Kind of thing. So he's badly injured. Scotty reveals that there is a way out besides the bridge, but the trees won't let them leave, which is super unfortunate because, when you're in a situation like that, you may want to leave.
Yeah.
But then Ash is, of course, trying to not lose hope that Linda is still in there. And then Linda starts to mock
Ash. I'm sorry. It begins to mock Ash. I'm sorry. I just realized what I wrote. Linda begins to mock Linda.
Yeah, Linda begins to mock Linda. And then she's like, Even the doing like mimicking sounds, which I love so much, and she starts laughing uncontrollably. Ash hits her before grabbing the shotgun. But so he's like debating whether to keep her alive. He's like, I gotta man up. I have to do it for my survival, kind of thing. But then he's sitting there for a while. He starts thinking about the necklace and all this other stuff. And then he takes a pause. Then Linda kind of lifts her head up and she's back to normal. And then she's like, oh, leave me.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's fucked up. This is when you're going to be messing with someone's feelings.
But then Cheryl also turns back to normal, and she's like, Ash, please, like, I'm all good now. Like, you can let me out.
You can let me out now. And like, at that point, it's just messing with Ash at this point.
Yeah.
And other than that, Cheryl begins to attack from underneath the floorboard. She puts her hand right through the door, not door, through the floor,
Yeah.
kind of thing, and then grabs onto his leg. And then Linda reverts back to her possessed self and continues to mock Ash. I love how she's just letting the possessed sister go at him. She's like, I'm just going to sit here and laugh at you. Like, I was like, wow, we love how we portray this.
We love Linda.
You know, how Ash is just the punching bag at this point. Like,
Oh, yeah.
they don't even bother with
Absolutely.
Scotty at this point. And then Ash grabs Linda and takes her outside. Then Ash then talks to Scotty, he's in and out of consciousness. But then he's trying to give him water, I think.
Yeah.
And sadly, he realizes that bitch boy Scotty is dead.
He did.
Sad. Big sad.
So we do know that, Ash had grabbed Linda, took her outside, but Linda just makes her way right back in. She's like, bitch, you thought you could kick me out? Hell no.
Yeah.
And attacks him, this time cutting his arm with the dagger.
Oof.
And after that is when Cheryl and Linda they just gang up on him.
Body bag.
And I do like this next scene because that's when, like, they're both ganging up on him and he's able to, like, grab the knife and twist it in such a way that, like, it lands on the ground and it, like, pushes Linda down onto it and just, like, stabs her in the back.
Yeah, and the way that after that scene, he's just dragging her. And what's weird is that I like consistency.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't see the knife through her chest. I just saw white. I was like,
yeah, well, because what you kind of see is, like, it pushes up on, like, her nightgown, but it doesn't go through all the way.
Yeah.
Because you can, like, see that, like, part of her nightgown starts to kind of stain red a little bit, but, like, you don't see the knife actually go through.
But when you see him dragging on Linda,
she's just fine afterward. Yeah, like, she's just like nothing.
Jeez. It's great though, but that's all things that we learn as do things.
So that's when Ash, thinking that she's dead, takes the body back to the work shed, chains her up, and he's like, all right, I have to bodily dismember her. And, he grabs the chainsaw that's in there, revs it up, and puts it as close as possible, but then he's like, man, I just can't do this. And you want to know something really, really crazy?
What?
That was a straight up real chainsaw. It wasn't like a prop.
Oh.
And that was that was actually very, very close to the actress. Like, dangerously close to her.
But she's alive.
Yep. And actually, the shotgun was also a real shotgun. Like, it actually shot. Like, real rounds. So they were not messing around with this movie.
Yeah, but with the budget, they just kind of have to try not to get anybody hurt.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah. So yeah, Ash is, like, holding the chainsaw over her, but then is overcome with grief at the last second and just can't do it. So he just cries over the body. And he's like, all right, I'm not going to dismember her. I'm just going to take her outside. I'm going to bury her.
Yeah.
So as Ash is, digging the grave out there, Linda wakes up and plays the same game that Ash was playing on her, where she pretends to be dead every time he looks at her. And then when it turns back, her eyes open again. Which I like that they call back to it.
Damn. I didn't realize that. Like, I
Yeah.
didn't catch that.
I love
Where is
I love
cool.
that she took it an extra step further and just like lets Ash pick up her limp body and just throw it under, just throw it into the hole that he dug.
Yeah.
She's like, "Don't worry, he'll never suspect that I'm still alive." So, so yeah, he like lowers her in there, but then she almost immediately pops back out and actually injures Ash's leg by like grabbing it and just like scratching it up. And like a
Oof.
really
That
like
sounds like,
again,
yo, what's
yeah, like another like gross looking scene.
I was like, who's your salon artist? I need that. I need that. I was like, that shit look nasty. I was like, because the more she clawed, the more blood gushed out, and I was like,
Yeah,
yo,
I was like,
what?
stop.
Yeah, I was like, oh, this is a very interesting demon. She attacks Ash, and he grabs a shovel and decapitates her.
Well, not yet. Not before grabbing a piece of wood and just beating the shit out of her with it.
Oh yeah.
Straight up, just like whop, whop. And Linda's like, nah, this is not knocking me down. I'm good. So
And then
so that's when she's like, all right, watch this. Jumps up and is like about to attack him, but that's when Ash grabs the shovel and just goes, yeah,
yoink,
no more head for you.
no more head. I'm gonna miss your head, but not like that.
And I love the fact that like the body just keeps moving and like lands on top of him, and then just starts
Yeah.
like shooting out a bunch of black goo all over him.
Ugh.
Like straight up, Bruce Campbell went through hell making this movie.
I'm sure. I'm sure. But and when Ash returns to the cabin, uh, he finds the cellar door open again, and Cheryl is nowhere to be seen. And this is where I would be scared shitless, and I would have been like, I would have left a long time ago. I'm like, I don't know why you still decide to hang around the cabin at that point.
Yeah.
Boy, I would have went yeet out that door, but to each their own, I guess. But Ash grabs the shotgun and goes to investigate when Cheryl attacks him, and he manages to shoot at her, and he goes to lock the doors.
Which, by the way, the moment that he shoots at her, he shot a real shot at a
Oh,
dummy that was just filled with fake blood.
oh, a dummy with fake blood.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
So
I would have been like,
I just love the fact that they were like, "Hey, we can't afford a prop gun. Just use this real gun instead. You'll be fine."
I don't blame him. I was like, yo, where were these warrants? Like these little the permissions or permits.
They probably didn't have any.
They were just like, don't get caught.
Yep.
Don't be suspicious.
Don't
Don't
be
be
suspicious.
suspicious. Yo, they did not care. Oh my god.
Yeah. But after he locks all the doors, he just realizes that he needs to reload the shotgun just in case. So then he has to head into the goddamn cellar.
Nah, you wouldn't
So
catch me in that
yeah,
cellar.
that would be terrifying. Be like, you know what? Damn.
Not worth it. If I
Yeah, I
die, I
don't think it's
die.
worth it. Yeah. But yeah, he makes his way down to the cellar and he sees that the pipes are actually leaking blood. And when he goes to check on it, the pipe literally bursts and just shoots a waterfall of blood all over him.
Yeah, I
'Cause
really like
Ash
that scene.
just
I thought it was
cannot
really
catch a
interesting. I'm
break.
like, damn, how did you guys do that scene? Like that shit looks really
Yeah.
cool. Like
Because Ash literally does not get a rest.
no, and then he's like, oh, like why is boy, you were just blessed unfortunately with your some dumbass friends and a dumbass sister, but go off.
Yep.
But
But again, the demons here try to mess around with him. They turn on a bunch of stuff, including a record player and a film projector. And and not only that, like there's stuff around the the bloods, the walls start bleeding. There's blood falling into the light fixtures, into the projector, which is really cool because you see
I
like
really like the light fixture
yeah,
one.
how
So
like
that
you
shit
see
was
the
my
background of
favorite.
like all this like red blood just falling all over the projector is a really nice shot.
Yeah, that was really cool. So I was like, damn, that was really nice.
Yeah.
So Ash finally reloads the shotgun and comes back to the projector exploding and the record machine finally breaking down because I wouldn't want to be around that when I'm like having a straight up panic attack and I'm trying to
Yep.
live for my life kind of thing. So when he goes back upstairs, he begins to hear strange sounds and is searching for anything that might attack him,
Yep.
like his sister. Um,
And again, moving on to the great cinematography, there's this one shot in that section that I love, where it's like a shot from the bottom up, like at the top of where you see Bruce Campbell, like kind of like the camera's like looking up at him,
yeah.
and then at one point he like moves and his foot covers the lens, and they use that to cut to the next scene, to like the next shot.
Very cool.
And then they also have like the sound design where like he's walking past these like bits and pieces like the wood beams that hold the cabin together, and they make this like distinct sound every time the camera passes by one of them.
Yeah.
Man, like
Very cool.
how did such a like a low budget movie get away with doing so much inventive stuff, you know?
Yeah. I mean, sell your body to Satan, I guess. No, I'm kidding. But Ash begins to hallucinate. The demons begin to inside of the cabin, and of course, again, Ash cannot catch a break. He
Yep.
is literally being they're ragdoll at this point. He is literally their bitch. Yes. Um, and then when he is back at the door, there is a pair of hands that try to break through because his sister is trying to go yeet. Then he slams the door on her hand, starts crushing it, and I'm like, yo, what is happening? Because because you hear the crushing
Oh
on the
yeah.
screen every single time that you see like more stuff, like gory stuff come out. I'm very impressed with like the makeup that it took to even do all of this, especially with the sister and the way that they make all those things look mega gory. I know that most of their production quality went to that, but it
Mm-hmm.
was like super impressive, especially
Oh
the way
yeah.
that they had the way it was like breaking out from the fingers. The fingers
Mm-hmm.
were just starting to fall out and shit. It was great. But we did say butt a lot in this podcast, so the hashtag is butt today, buddy butt.
Buddy, buddy,
Um,
but
um, he
but
attacks the fingers and he shoots away at them. Fuck off. Scotty is now possessed and attacks Ash. Ash gouges out Scotty's eyes, and that part gave me the creeps,
oh
and
yeah, like
pulls
again,
out
just
a piece of wood and makes him bleed out. And what the part that makes me laugh is the when he took it out is like yoink, and like
it's like he's
is
like
that when
pulling a
like
little cord, just
all you hear is yeah. I know. I just felt like I just popped a wine bottle open. The fuck? It's like the blood just
yeah,
gushing
just
out.
blood just like gushing out like all over the place.
Yeah.
But then here comes good old Cheryl again. She breaks down the door and just attacks Ash. Scotty comes back to life and starts grabbing his leg too. So Ash is all over the ground, getting attacked, getting grabbed by the leg by Scotty, while Cheryl has a fire poker, just like hits him in the back with it.
Damn.
Poor
At that
Ash.
point, that was like a whole like
Yeah.
jump. Like he was jumped
Oh
at that
yeah, that was like a straight up like street jump.
point. Yeah.
Like one of them is like, "I'll hold him down. You beat the shit out of him."
Yeah.
And then that's when Ash still has a necklace in his hand, and that's when he sees the Book of the Dead. So he's like, okay, maybe this will help me. So he like tries to grab the chain and like trying to run it over so he can like try and like hook it onto the book. And he's like trying and trying. He keeps getting his ass handed to him until
Yeah.
he's finally able to grab the book. He grabs it and then he just throws it into the fire.
he didn't throw it. To be fair, he grabbed onto the necklace and went yeet, and then it was like I was like, what? Was there a magnet? I was like, anyway, that's great. You know, there's a lot of things in this movie that didn't make sense, but I was like, okay, but
That is this
for
movie.
just the element of everything, great job. I would have done it the same way, and if I had tried doing it, everybody was probably gonna think that I was making a Scary Movie 6. Either way, Ash is able to grab the book, throw it into the fire. The monsters freeze and rapidly begin to decompose into horribly disgusting piles of goo, mush, and the book also starts to decompose as well.
Yeah.
I thought this scene dragged on so long.
I agree. This scene
So
does drag on for a little too long, or it's just like, all right, I get it. They're dying, they're decomposing. Like that's enough.
Yeah, but there's like, so you just basically showed me the cycle of decay
Mm-hmm.
that will take 10 years to reach, and you've managed to do it
In like 2 minutes.
in 2 minutes. And I had to sit there and watch
Yeah.
it go through. Like,
And then of course, this movie would not be complete without something else happening to Ash, where like out of one of the bodies, these like demonic hands pop out and just like cover Ash in blood and guts again.
daylight come and we.
Great, I love that.
Yeah, it was just a dinner scene from Beetlejuice, but it was just like
But rated R.
rated R version.
Yeah.
And after finally dying, those things, the dawn finally approaches. It is a beautiful morning. Ash is like, I
Fucking
lived.
made it.
I don't know how.
Yeah.
I became someone's bitch today. I had a rough night. I lived. And just when you think the movie is over, Ash is walking like outside of the woods. I don't know if he's getting into the vehicle or not.
I don't
We
remember.
don't
Yeah, I think
know
he's just moving.
because then the demon goes, "Hi, you miss me?" Glide over again and scene. That's it. That's the end of the movie. We can all go
Straight
home.
up
No,
bursts through the cabin, attacks Ash, and literally the movie just boom, cuts to black, and then we get our credits.
obviously indicating and hoping the production crew probably hoping that there will be a second movie.
I'm pretty sure some of them were like, please, let's not make another one of these. Like the hell that was this production is already more than enough.
Lies.
Yeah. Well, actually, originally that was supposed to be the only movie because Ash was supposed to get killed by the by the demon when it attacks him. Like it's implying that he died.
Yikes.
Yeah. But I'm glad he didn't. I'm glad the movie sold well enough where they could make a sequel.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we wouldn't have the amazing Evil Dead 2, which I love. Yeah.
Which we'll be talking about next week.
Yeah.
So.
But that is the Evil Dead.
Yes, it is Evil Dead. 1983.
A huge inspiration to low budget filmmaking. An amazingly iconic horror movie.
Mm-hmm.
And it is the reason that it spawned an entire franchise. So you got to give it major props. And not only that, it also gave us one of the most well-known and most famous horror movie characters in Ash Williams.
Yeah.
So like this movie did do a lot of stuff that is still being used in film today. It gave us a really interesting sound design, really interesting cinematography. So like I definitely think it was ahead of its time in terms of how much it was able to do.
Yeah. If they probably were to re-release it remastered, it would probably do a little bit more better, for sure. But now there is a more modernized version. I guess people will always prefer that one. I like how different the more modern one is.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't want to.
But it still maintains like the spirit of the first one.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But yeah, like that is outside of like a few like nitpicky things, like you said, like the scenes that tend to drag on for a little too long sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And just some like random like little mistakes that were made. Obviously, like sometimes they just can't help it.
Yeah.
But I would give this movie a solid 8 out of 10.
I agree with that rating, but I think for me, I will lower a little bit for the first time. I think 7 out of 10.
Really?
7 out of 10. Yeah, everything was good. I enjoyed the makeup a lot. I enjoyed the storytelling. It's just like you said, it was just some shots that just didn't need to be there, and it could have been conveyed better in some sense. They gotta get rid of that fucking lightning scene. My God. And like, no, because that's the first thing. I normally don't pick movies all that well to nitpick at every single frame.
Mm-hmm.
But that lightning scene, I was like, yo, that shit stuck out like a sore thumb. It was like the sorest.
The source of
It was a
thumbs.
tumor. It was a tumor at that point.
Tumor.
Like, it was so bad.
Jeez.
Other than that, the acting for Linda was incredible. Cheryl too. Scotty, piece of shit, but we love him. He redeeming qualities. Ash is still a good character. Of course, like I said, believes to do the right thing, but is not always a good person. But tries to be.
Mm-hmm.
But then it's like the cycle continues as more bad shit keeps happening to him, and he keeps just getting pegged all over and over again. But either way, but still, regardless, interesting shots, interesting sounds. So yeah, I think it's deserving of that. But 7 out of 10 for me.
All right. But yeah, that is the end of this episode. So we have now talked about we are 1 for 4 right now because we already talked about Evil Dead. We still got 3 more movies to go through. But that is all going to be coming out pretty soon. So for now, we're going to do our little housekeeping. So we're going to start off with you, Vania. Where can we find you?
You can find me on Twitter and as HHN Cultist, where I cover anything that has to do with makeup, HHN, horror, haunts, what have you. It is a little bit slow for my YouTube channel. I'm trying to release one more video or so before I kind of just end my Howling Horror Sizzle Reel series, I guess you could say, because I am very busy with Petrified Forest right now. But yeah, just but I will still keep updating on my Twitter as usual as HHN Cultist. But there's other cool people on this podcast. Yussef, where can we find you?
Yeah, so for my personal stuff, you can find me on Instagram at Yussef1220. And then for my Twitter, it is at ItBeYussef. I'm mostly more active on Twitter than I am on Instagram just because I don't take lots of pictures of stuff. So that's just me. But then for our podcast, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor. And then for our socials, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. And we also have our email, soundsfromthegravepodcast@gmail.com. So, if you want to talk to us about anything, drop us a line on there. And actually, going back to our YouTube, I am hoping to have a video released sometime during this month to coincide with the release of a certain big budget horror movie. Come on. Probably the biggest horror movie of this year.
Halloween Kills.
Yes, thank you.
I was about to say, I'm like, why are you acting like it's a surprise? Everybody knows that movie coming out.
I know, but
just released a song,
yes, the song is amazing. If you haven't heard the song, definitely listen to it. I love that song. It was really
I bought
good.
the vinyl for it. I'm a fucking whore. $15 down the drain, but it's fine.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is all we have. We really want to thank you guys so much for all the support and for listening to us. And don't forget to check out all of our other friends as well. Like, they make amazing content, and we are so happy for them and happy to be in their company. So definitely support them and check them out. But for now, we bid you good day or good night whenever you're listening to this, and that you stay spooky.
Stay spooky. Have a good night, y'all.
Bye.